Hi guys, and welcome back to another Cryptonary video. Now this time I wanted to cover a subject that I get asked on a daily basis, probably more times than you can actually imagine. And that is two things. How much do I need to get invested and started in cryptocurrencies? And the second question, which I get probably even more often actually, is how many cryptos should I actually be holding in my portfolio? So we'll start off with the first point, which is how much do I actually need to invest? Now, in my personal opinion, and I actually believe this should be the principle for any investment, that is as much as you can afford to lose. Now, I know it sounds very simple and very common, but it's a common factor that many people actually misinterpret and actually forget to abide by when it comes to investing. Now, the crypto market is pretty much led by FOMO and FUD, and obviously FOMO, is the fear of missing out. So when that kicks in, you normally forget about all of these principles, and you'll probably put your life savings into something like Ether because you've seen that it started exploding. More commonly, people have done this with Verge, with the whole Pornhub partnership, then that plummeted. It happens again and again, and it's a common theme where people get caught up in excitement and the greed for riches. So in terms of affording and looking at what you can afford to lose, I would say you have to look at first your actual current lifestyle and your current lifestyle situation. What are your outgoings like? What is your income like, especially after tax? All of these little things have to be accounted for. What are your outgoings like? How much are your bills coming to at the end of the month? How much do you normally spend going out? Could you alter your lifestyle to maybe not go out that one weekend and save a bit of money? And how much disposable income do you actually have left at the end of the month after you've spent this on clothes, on food, on bills, every single possible outgoing? Now, from what I actually posted in one of the previous videos of AstroFX, we realized the average student, actually in the average 20-year-old, only has around $250 to $300 disposable income at the end of each month. Now, when you put that into consideration, you realize that it's not necessarily a lot of money. And in a real world like the Forex market or the stock market, that wouldn't really get you many good returns until several years down the line. Now, fortunately, in the cryptocurrency market, the gains are absolutely incredible. And we can just see jumps, from thousands of percent in several weeks and sometimes in several days. We've seen that many times over, especially when the bull runs kick in. You do tend to see and feel and pretty much just experience what it's like to see 5,000% plus gains in a matter of weeks. So in that scenario, and what I'd actually say is what I'd actually go down the route of is, let's just say in this one example, you have around $300. What I would do in that situation is I wouldn't necessarily go all in on one cryptocurrency. Now, the kind of figure I go for and the figure I would mention is anywhere from zero, actually to be more precise, anywhere from $0 to $5,000. I consider that a fairly small sum of investment for the cryptocurrency market. And in general, that's considered a decent size to invest. Anywhere from in that region, you're considerably investing a decent amount. Now, instead of just investing that into one crypto and going all in, anywhere from the $5,000 region and below, I would actually split that between around 10 cryptocurrencies. Now, the reason being is because if you equally split that between 10 plus cryptocurrencies, and even 20, due to the size of the investment, you're equally splitting your chances from a very small amount with the hopes that you'll eventually make a bigger amount of money. Now, the way I see this is, let's just say you have 5,000 and you put $500 into several different cryptocurrencies. What you're doing is you're putting them into low figure altcoins. Now, I wouldn't say go into Bitcoin because obviously due to the price. When you're working with a much lower amount of capital, you need to focus more on the lower market cap altcoins that have a bigger potential of exploding. Even 40 to 50% is a decent return on $500 per investment. Now, when you're in this kind of figure, your main goal, and obviously you have to detach from the mindset that you're going to make millions with anything less than $5,000 and even $10,000. You will eventually hit the $100,000 regions and the six figures plus, but you need to be realistic with your investments. Now, if you are around the $5,000 region or below, putting in $100 or $250 into several different cryptos means that when the market eventually booms and when the altcoins boom, now bearing in mind if you're splitting between 10 or 20, you're increasing your chances of at least one of those exploding in valuation. Let's just say one of them jumps several thousand%. Your $100 turns into $1,000. You've now increased your portfolio by $1,000 with a small $100 to $250 investment. What you do from there is, and this is where people mess up, this is how people never grow their holdings. This is why people never see the six figures. And that's because they take that money and they spend it. They withdraw it and they go back to safety. Now, if you're looking to grow your capital, and bear in mind it's very possible to actually take several $1,000s and turn it into hundreds of thousands, the way you do that is by reinvesting. Now, there's a big problem as well and a big issue in this market right now, and that's diversification. It's a big misconception that by putting all of your money into 10, 20 different cryptos, you're diversifying your portfolio. That's the furthest thing from the truth. Now, if you consider that the market is still slightly pegged to Bitcoin, don't get me wrong, the dominance has dropped around 40% once again. However, we're still moving in synchronization with how Bitcoin is moving. So if you're considering that a 10 or 20 crypto portfolio is diversification, you're absolutely wrong. You're actually just increasing your chances of one of those booming, although they're still moving in synchronization. And it doesn't take a genius to work out, by looking at your portfolio on any given day, you're most likely either in the green or you're in the red. You may have a few that go up far and in between. You may have one that goes up 50%, the other one might be down 30. The key point is the one that does boom 70 to, let's just say, even several thousand%, take your profits out, reinvest, and then put it into one of your other cryptos. Your main goal as a cryptocurrency investor should have as least amount of cryptos as possible, but with a large amount of money in them. Now that's how you make the serious money. Once you start having tens of thousands in your crypto portfolio, and let's just say 5 cryptos, the minute those start increasing over time, not only are you making hundreds of thousands of dollars, you're increasing your holdings on a much larger scale. Now again, I'm not saying necessarily buy something like Bitcoin due to the price, but even something like Ethereum, which even now has fallen to just a few $100s. So you're looking at these cryptos in the several $100s. Once you've grown a portfolio, so let's just say 50,000 or even 100,000. Once you're in that category, you can put 20K into each crypto, and let's just say 5 cryptos. Now you're moving on to the serious money, and you're getting closer to that $1 million mark. Now, one point I wanted to cover that I actually wrote down is that the smaller capital means you won't make as much, but by working smart and reinvesting, you can actually reach those $1 million figures. Now, a good example that I've written down again is that if you bought one Bitcoin at $1,000, that's of course a $1,000 investment. Now, let's just say theoretically you timed the market perfectly well and you sold at $20,000 at the all-time high. Now again, that would have taken pretty much just over a year. Now, what would that have been? That would have been a $19,000 profit from a $1,000 investment. And that's a perfect example of what can happen if you split just a few hundred to 1,000 between several different cryptocurrencies. Now, let's just say the average person would take that $20,000, get out the market, they're done for good. Don't get me wrong, $20,000 altogether from $1,000, absolutely incredible. But there's more to the market. The market's so young, you can leverage the infancy and extend these investments over a longer term period. So let's just say $20,000. If you sold at the all-time high, you'd have 20K. That is $19,000 profit. Now, most people wouldn't reinvest, but if you reinvested 75%, which is obviously $15,000, take the $5,000, go and shop it, go spend it, go pay your bills off, go pay your debts. You now have $15,000 to invest with. Let's just say right now the current prices of around $6,000 to $8,000. Let's say you caught it in the middle at $7,000. That would have given you, with your $15,000 investment, around 2.14 Bitcoin. Let's just say theoretically we go back to all-time highs. The exact figure, which I had written down, if you'd reinvested those profits, even at the current prices now, waited for the dip, held it in fear, you would have around $42,857. That is by simply reinvesting your money once the market has collapsed. Now, I'm not saying go and reinvest at all-time highs after a month of a slight dip. I'm saying when there's a bear trend in play, reinvest that money, even at $8,000, even at $6,000, even at $9,000 to $10,000 of Bitcoin. That would be a significant amount of money once it climbs back to all-time highs. Now, let's just say you didn't sell at all-time highs and you actually just held until we broke all-time highs and the next bull run kicks in. My personal belief is we'll see around 29,000 to 30,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year. Let's say again you held that 2.14 Bitcoin, that would be $64,200. Now you're in the big boy market. Now you're playing with the bigger players. Now you have $64,000. You've spent $5,000, now you have $64,000 in your account. Let's say you sell again, you now have $64,000 to play with. What do? You spend maybe $10,000, leave $54,000 to reinvest. If not, even when it gets to that kind of money, you could even take out half and you still have more money than you originally had to invest with. The goal is to reinvest, take out a huge amount of profit, but still have at least double what you originally invested. This way you're always increasing your investment by double every single time. By then, you've turned $1,000 into practically $100,000. Now, let's go down a different route, which is, let's just say, anywhere from $5,000 investment to $100,000. This is when the dynamics change a bit, and you don't need to start spreading your money between some of these crazy altcoins with a low market cap, and technically actually increasing your risk. But due to the low amount of money, you don't necessarily need to risk as much. Now, let's just say you have $50,000 to invest. $50,000, you're stuck between what to do. You could easily put that into 20, 50 cryptos again and diversify, but you're limiting the amount of money you can make. When you're in that kind of category where you've got a much larger sum of money, I would actually personally only go for 5 cryptocurrencies. It's something I buy by myself. I never really exceed 8 to 10, but I normally stick between 5. The reason being is I'll put 10,000 into each one. And obviously the main purpose here is once you're restricting how much cryptos you invest in, you actually need to do some serious research here. And the reason being, and the reason I only stick to a certain amount of cryptos, is because I research the living daylight out of them. And then I know I'm willing to put my money into this. I believe what I've invested in, I see the future, I see the value. I can happily put a much larger sum of capital into this investment. So let's just say 10,000 goes into Litecoin, XRP, GNT, Ether, IOTA, all of these different investments that I personally invest in myself. I've now got 10,000 in each one. That means when these things grow and they rise tens of thousands of percent, you're turning 10,000 into 100,000 just like that. But you then have another investment, and when they're going up in synchronization, you have several portfolios and several cryptos all going up together, all jumping towards the 100,000 figure. That way you've easily just made pretty much several 100,000. So it's a much easier way, I guess you could say, a much stress-free way of investing your money. Now, another good example that I wrote down here is, let's just say, let's just go for, in this example, I will use 1 to 5. Let's just say you put 10,000 into Ether at $6. That'll give you around 1,666 Ether. I personally put my money into Ether around $6 as well. And you obviously know Sean Lee from Astro Effects. He abided by the same principles and bought at $6. Now, I personally sold Ether around $400, and I still have a few lingering here and there, but I actually sold at the all-time highs of $400, waited for a pullback, reinvested in Ripple, hence how I managed to increase my holdings and hold over 200,000 XRP just in one personal account, and as a collective, the whole group owns around 1 million XRP. Now that comes from reinvesting and allocating from Bitcoin. We then catched on to Ether, we then caught on to Ripple, and now we can actually have a lot more money to play with. So let's just say you sold Ether, you put 10,000 at $6, you have 1,666 Ether. You get to all-time highs of $400, not even the all-time highs of 1,600. You sell at $400, and that has now become $666,000. And that is from a simple $10,000 investment. And I guess the priority is you have to research your investments, believe in them, as long as you know what you're investing in. You put in that hard work. Most people don't. Most people invest, and I guarantee you they don't even know what their cryptos are. They don't know what the blockchain is. They don't even know pretty much what Bitcoin is. And that's the sad reality of this market. But the best way I can explain this is, and the biggest factor I can take home before I end this video, is research the living. Sorry for that little interruption of the doorbell, my apologies. Let me get back to my main point. The point is you need to research the living daylight out of your investments. Now, this doesn't mean just doing a bit of research and looking what the team does. I mean looking at the business model, the roadmap. Is it realistic? Does the team have previous history? Does the CEO have history? Does he have a history of scams? You need to research everything into depth. This way, when you're moving into that larger capital, and don't get me wrong, every single person here can turn that $100 or $1,000 into several 100,000. You need to utilize this the right way. And once you're at that point where you've reinvested and you've actually grown your account to, let's just say 50,000, that's when you need to put in some serious graft, research those investments, and allocate between 1 to 5. There's no need to go all in on 1. There's no need to go all in on 20 to 30 to 40. I know some people that hold around 40 cryptos, and the portfolio is only worth around $5,000. For me, that doesn't make any logical sense, because you're more likely to suffer a huge drastic fall than a huge drastic increase, especially when the lower market cap ones don't necessarily catch up to the leaders of the market. So the main point here, guys, is research, allocate, grow your account to around 50,000 plus, and then split between 5 cryptos, and then you will start seeing the $100,000 and the millions.